Smartwatches, what are they? It's a portable device worn on your wrist, just to replace what we generally know as watches that we've known and used for years and years. They use touch screens that offer apps. They do all kinds of things as far as health goes. They can check your heart rate at any given time, give you what your heart rate is. They can also do an EKG, a single lead EKG, very similar to the device that you may have seen on TV called the Cardia Mobile, which actually does a single lead EKG also. It's mostly used to detect atrial fibrillation. Some patients or some people have problems with atrial fibrillation. And if you do an EKG with your watch, it will basically tell you if you have a normal sinus rhythm or if if it picks up any AFib or atrial fibrillation. You can also do your O2 sats, which tells you how much oxygen is in your blood. If you have trouble, if you're on maybe oxygen or something like that, and you constantly monitor your O2 sats, these things will do that for you too. Smartwatches have really kind of been around for a long time, way back in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, when they first started offering the watches that had like the LED display on them. And then they came out with a watch that actually had a little calculator on it also. So they've just kind of grown through the years. And as technology has grown, the tech companies have begun to release the watches that have smartphone like abilities. So that's just kind of a high level overview of smartwatch. Types of smartwatches. This is your typical Apple Watch. This looks real confusing because it's the face on here showing you right here is when you push this little crown button, it will pull up all of the apps that are on your watch, and you can touch the little apps to do the different things that you want to do. So that's a basic look of an Apple Watch. These are some of the Google powered watches with run off of the Google operating system. Samsung, Galaxy, I think the Garmin, there's a Fitbit, different watches like that. So, and all of these are designed to replace your basic watch, tell you your time and things like that, plus so much more that they do. If you have an Apple Watch, I will say next Wednesday, I believe, I'm teaching a class specific to the Apple Watch. If you want to know more about the Apple Watch, I actually will show you some things on my Apple Watch and with a second camera that I have, so we can go into that a little bit deeper. So the types of smartwatches, now there's a lot of them that are intended for specific use. For example, the Fitbit came out. It's one of probably the first that came out that everybody got involved with using. And it was basically a fitness watch. Would count your steps, how many staircases flights of stairs you actually climbed during a day's time. It would have an alarm on it that you could set and some basic things like that. You can pair Fitbits with your phone. This is kind of one of the older models right here with a little square face. They all, I believe this is closer to what they look like now. I've not looked at a whole lot of Fitbits, but they are the one that's specific to tracking health only. I will say the others like the Samsung Galaxy and the Apple Watch, they track your fitness also. There's no end to what you can track as far as fitness goes. You can personalize your workouts. You can set it to where if you take off from the house and go on a walk every day, you don't really have to even do anything with your watch. It automatically knows when you take off walking. And if you're walking after a certain amount of time, it recognizes that you're into your exercise routine and it starts tracking all of that, tells you how far you've walked, how long you've walked. You can even do settings on these watches to where when you get to the halfway point, say you want to walk 2 miles, but you just want to take off walking around the neighborhood and you're not really sure how far the 2 miles is, you can simply set a routine to where when you get to the halfway point, your watch tells you, hey, you've reached your halfway point. You can just turn around and head back for the house. And that way you've walked your 2 miles without having to worry about driving it in the car first to see how many miles it actually is. Fitness is one of the most popular things that people use their watches for. And then there are specific watches also, like hiking watches that are made for activities such as hiking, that have specific things that are used when you are hiking. The Apple Watch, and I think probably the Galaxy also, the Apple Watch has a very nice compass on it, actually. I've used it a couple of times just in traffic around Houston, and seeing if I'm going to get on the loop, which direction is east and west and north and south. Because we have the east loop westbound, and we have it's crazy around here. But I've used the compass several times around here. So lots of different types of watches out there, depending upon what you want. And so the best thing to do is decide what's your biggest need. Do you want it for the health and safety aspects? Do you want it for messaging? You can use these things for messaging with a tap back. If you get your text messages, it comes right across on your watch. The other day I was walking and my nephew was texting me, and I didn't have to pull my phone out of my jacket pocket or anything like that. I just looked at it, read it on here, tapped the little microphone button, dictated an answer back, and tapped on the send button and answered right back. Carried on a whole conversation like that while I was doing my walking routine. So there's so many things you can do with these. You can also play Dick Tracy if you so desire. When your phone rings, you can actually answer it on your watch and talk right through your watch. My sister called last week. I was eating at a restaurant after I'd left her house. She wanted to know if I was home yet, and I was eating finger foods, and I didn't want to pull my phone out of my pocket, so I just talked on my watch, and nobody around me knew I didn't have to go like this or anything like that. Just it picks up fine. She heard me fine. I heard her fine. I was able to take care of what her needs were, and in the conversation right there with my watch on my wrist, instead of having to stop and pull my phone out of my pocket. There's a walkie-talkie feature on a lot of them, where if you have someone else around the house that has one or something like that, you can actually use it as a walkie-talkie feature. So there's really no end to what these things do. It's amazing. They just keep improving on them all the time. So what do smartwatches do? Just about everything, but they're intended for daily use. But some, like I said, have the specific purposes, and they pick up your notifications that you have set up on your phones. If you get a notification about maybe you've signed up for text alerts from your local emergency agency in your county or whatever, you'll get those text alerts right there on your watch. Any other notifications, such as an email comes through, you can actually look at your watch real quick and see what the topic of the email is, who it's from. That way you know if it's really something you need to address right away or if it can wait until later. You can manage your media. If you're listening to music while you're walking, working in the garden, whatever, you can skip songs, go back, play same song again, whatever. If you're listening to audiobooks, you can manage your audiobooks, what you're listening to right off the face of your